Hey, YouTubers, Tazman here, bringing you another episode of Teaches, where we're learning the finer things of Ubuntu, of PHP, MySQL, and Apache. And in our last episode, let me just start typing this, put in our password. In our last episode, we downloaded uh, VMware Player or Workstation Player, whatever you want to call it. We also we downloaded the Ubuntu image, we installed it, we did some basic configuration to make it look a little prettier like we have right now. And in this episode, we're going to actually start installing stuff. So the last thing we did in the last episode was we downloaded the PHP version of Eclipse. I think it was called PHP Neon. It was the Oxygen one. And in this episode, what we want to do is get that so it's up and running. We also want to get some other components that we need, and of course we need our PHP, MySQL, and Apache. So we have a lot to do. So hopefully, I'm not sure, this might end up being, we might not get all that done in this episode. We'll find out. So I have a little list I'm going to go off of. So we also downloaded and checked out a little app called GKSU, which allows us to have a little GUI. It's the same thing as typing sudo and then your command. But this just gave us a little graphical interface, which we just wanted to show you. So we're going to use that real quick. We're going to type GKSU, and you'll see we have the little guy running here. What we want to run is we want to run the file manager of this, but we want to run it as root. So as you can see, we have root selected, and the file manager is called Nautilus. So Nautilus. And the reason we want to do this as root is because we need to move our files. We're going to go ahead and close you, I think. Actually, we can't close you till we're done here. So we're going to go ahead and move our files from where they were. So what we want to do is click on computer here. We want to go to where it was downloaded. The default download location is home, your username, and then in downloads. So you can see we have it right here, the Eclipse thing. We're going to go ahead and double click that. It'll open up in the archive manager, and you can see we just have a single folder called Eclipse. What we're going to do is we are going to put this, we could click on computer again and go to opt. Now, just a real quick rundown of the directory structure in Linux. I'm not going to cover it all, and I might even get some of it not 100% correct, so feel free to correct me if you want. So the bin here is your binaries. This is where it keeps all your little binaries that launch stuff. When they install, usually they'll put something in binary or bin. The boot is where all your boot files are. CD-ROM is just a quick access to your CD-ROM drive. Dev is usually your drivers and stuff, although this looks a little different than I'm used to seeing. Yeah, so this is all your devices, not drivers. So all of our devices. Etsy is where usually your configuration files sit. So when we go to edit files that need editing and stuff, usually they're in Etsy. Home is where all your stuff. Lib is where, I'm not 100% sure, so I'm not even going to attack that. We don't really use lib very much, or lib64. Media, when you mount media, usually it's here. It'll also generally create a guy like that, so quick, or in your mount points here. Opt is usually, I think it stands for optional. This is where optional software or other software, I guess, is installed. Generally things that are not part of Ubuntu or the Linux version will go into opt. They're third party, things like that. The other one, root, is who we are right now. This is just the same thing as home, but it's the root version, and it actually has its own folder. We're going to skip a bunch of these because I don't think we need them. Temp is your temporary files, user files here. So the ones we really deal mostly with what we're doing would be the Etsy folder, the opt folder, the var folder, and I thought there was one more. I think those are it. And of course our home folder. So those are the ones we mostly are going to be focusing on, is our Etsy, home, opt and var. And opt is only going to be for a very minimal amount of time. 90% of what we will do will be in var, etc, and that's about it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and you could just copy Eclipse or just drag Eclipse from here to here, no problems at all. Or if you want it just a little more organized, if you're going to have other things in here, you could have user, lib, whatever. We're going to go ahead and just create a folder called lib for libraries. And that is purely optional. So we're going to go ahead and just copy Eclipse into here. And there we go. So if we close you, now this might not close right. Let's hit cancel. Oh no, it's thinking. So if we hit Control C, there it goes. It's closed out. All right, so there we go. So now we have that where we want it. Now we need to prepare it, because as you see in here, it's not going to know about Eclipse because all we did is basically copy the files over. Now, one thing that's kind of special about Eclipse is it's a Java type program, so everything is ran in kind of a Java virtual machine. So it doesn't have all these little files that go into lib and user bin and bin and all that. It's all contained within itself. It's one of the perks of Java. So if we came in here, ECL, it has no idea what Eclipse is. It'll search and it will not find. So what we want to do is make it so we can actually have Eclipse. And the way we do this, there's a couple ways. I like to actually have kind of a desktop icon. And also I like it to show up in here, of course. So we're going to do that where we have a desktop icon. Once we get it, I don't know. Well, we'll just do the desktop icon just to kind of show you how that goes. Before we do that, before I forget, there's a couple things I want to install. One is the system has an editor on it called VI, and then there's one called Vim, which is VI Enhanced, or VI, I don't know what the M stands for. But as we learned in our last our last video, is we use apt. Now we could use the software, and we actually will go through this in a little bit, but I wanted to show you how to do it from the console, because a lot of times you might actually be wanting to work in your Linux environment completely in the console because you're on your Windows system. This is just running in the background and you just pull it up. So anyway, what we want to do is we want to do some apt-get. We want to get some more installations going. So, and we have quite a few this episode. First thing, anytime you're going to be doing installation stuff, it's always best to make sure you have the most current repository information. So we want to do apt-get and update. This will update all your links as to what's out there, what versions are out there, and all that. So as you can see, it's connecting to the different repositories out there, and it's going to take a minute here. There we go. And there we go. We're done. There's not that many. You can actually add more and get just tons. So there we go. We have that. So now that we've done that, we know that when we do these installs, we're going to get the latest patches and updates that are on those repositories. So first thing we want to do is we want to do an apt-get. And by the way, it's a habit for me to type get. You actually don't have to. You could just do install, install. But it's habit. Almost every time I start typing, I'll type that hyphen, because I believe it used to be mandatory. So there's two things we want to install. One is called Vim, which is a VI Enhanced or something like that. And the other one we need is a Java, so that our Eclipse will actually run, because like I said, it is a Java virtual machine, or it's a Java environment and everything. So we're going to need Java on here, and we're just going to use the OpenJDK. That's the Open Java Developer Kit, I think, and then the Java Runtime Environment, I think is what it's called. So it's actually called OpenJDK, and we're going to use the latest one, which is 8, and the next part is called the JRE, which is Java, I believe it's Java Runtime Environment. So now I don't know if we talked about this in the last one, but you can actually install multiple things in one go just by putting a space between them. Because usually the names of the packages do not have any spaces. So if we hit OK, we'll see that it's going to install this. Oh yeah, I wanted to point this out too. So sometimes when you install some things, sometimes some things become no longer needed, older versions and such. You'll run into that a lot when there's actually kernel updates. The old kernel definitely is not needed anymore, and so it's recommending here that we remove confine, snap confine. We'll do that in just a second. In fact, I think we'll do that maybe towards the end. So here we are connecting. This looks different. It looks like they changed it, so now this is colored. I don't remember this ever being yellow. That's pretty cool. I like it. So as you can see, it's already done. I think it's done the Vim already, and now it's doing the OpenJDK, which will be our development area. Let's see, did it get, maybe it didn't. Java, no, it doesn't look like it did. But it will be getting Vim right there, Vim and Vim runtime. So it's doing this one first. It's a 27 meg file. My internet, once again, my son is always streaming from Netflix, so that slows things down. But you can see it's automatically grabbing all the components. I really kind of like that that's colored differently. It really helps it stand out. And now, oh, this is different too. I know when you uninstall it, it shows that. Maybe that's just some of the updates they've done. All right, so we have done, and we're done. So and now that we have that, what we want to do is we want to navigate to where our desktop sits. So the place where that is, as you can see, home, Tasman, we're there. If we do an LL, you'll actually see there's a file here called desktop. So in /home/Tasman/desktop. So we're going to go CD. We're not going to do a slash, other words it'll go all the way to root. So we just want to do DE for desktop, hit enter, and if we hit LL here, you see it's completely empty. So the first thing we want to do here is we want to create basically a desktop shortcut. And in Linux, it uses kind of an extension, desktop, to tell you what it is. So we're going to just do a touch, which will create a blank file for us. We could also just type Vim and type in the name of the file we want, and it'll auto create it, but I just want to show you various ways of doing things. So here we want to do a touch, and we're going to call this ECLIPSE, and it's going to be desktop dot DESKTOP. And you're going to see, I'm pointing at my computer with my finger, like you can see that. Right here, it's going, or right around here, it's going to create a file. Ta-da! However, you will notice that this file is locked, and we're going to take care of that in a minute. So now what we want to do is edit that file. So we could have done it, like I said, with Vim. We could have just done this, and instead of doing touch first, we could have did Vim. Actually, there was one other thing. So if we go LL now, we can see that there's our file. We're going to talk about this in a little bit. These are your permissions on the file. The D here means it's a directory, and then generally you have 3 categories for each type of thing. So this first one is root, or the owner of the file. This is the group, and these last 3 right here is the everyone. And what this is doing is this is saying basically read, write, execute, read, execute, read, execute. So this would say that the owner can read, write, and execute this directory or this file if it's a file. Is there one that's a file? No. The everyone group or groups can only read and execute, and you can see here this is also the owner, this is the group. So owner can read, write, and execute. Group, which is also Tasman, can read and execute. And then everyone that gets in here can actually read and execute, but they cannot write. Okay, so we have the same type of thing here. However, with this, as you can see, it's just, it's not a directory, but we have read, write, but not execute. even for root, or for owner, which is root in this case. We have read, no write, no execute for group, and the everyone also has read only. That's why this has a little lock on it. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to change that in just a minute, but what we want to do is modify this file. So we're going to come in here and we're going to type vim. Now, vim is it's VI, and it's the editor I like the most. There's lots of editors. This one's a pretty powerful editor, which is why I like it. Let's see. So I'm going to copy, and I'll try and remember. I'll put this info in the video description just so you can copy and paste it from there. But I'm going to grab some info real quick. And copy. Okay, so right now when you start Vim, you're in read mode. Basically, you can't edit anything, but it's really easy. If you hit the letter I, oh, Control Z, not over there. If you hit the letter I while in here, it'll change to insert mode, which means now I can type. It's the reason it has this other mode is for running extra commands, and we'll kind of talk about those in just a second. So if we do a paste now, this is what we want. So this is a desktop entry. This is going to make this file know what it's supposed to do. The name here is going to make it so that it's no longer using the name of the actual file. It's going to give it its own name. It's an application, so the system knows that. This is what we're going to execute. Anytime we double click that, we're going to execute gksu -k-u for user, then we're going to tell it root, and then we're going to pass it the actual launch information. This right here, I've seen it where the application, when it comes up, it doesn't have any menu item, no menu at the top. So this is kind of a safety thing that will actually make so we have the menu at the top. And then the path to the thing, we put it in opt, we put it in lib, and then there's the actual file, and this is the name of the executable. It's actually just called Eclipse. We can ignore that for now. Icon, simply, if we went to that same directory, which we don't have right up here, if we go to computer and we go to opt, we go to lib, Eclipse, you'll see that there's an icon here called icon xpm. So we're just referencing that for the icon, so it's not this ugly page. This is a comment, simply, so if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is. We don't care about the no display, don't really care. This is categories where it's going to place it in the environment. And then this is also the name in English would be this. If you had multiple names, you could do EU and all those fun ones. So if we hit escape once to get out of the insert mode, hit colon to tell it we're giving it a command, we're going to do W for write, and we're going to do Q for quit. And there we go. And now what we need to do is make it so that this file up here is we're changing these. Now this isn't necessarily the best thing, but I don't want to run into issues, so we're just going to do this command right here. It's chmod 777. So what we're doing is we are going to change this to read write execute, this to read write execute, this to read write execute. Because this is just a link on our desktop and this is a completely private system, it's on my own thing, not on the internet, I'm okay with setting it to 777, which means everyone can read, write, and execute it. So not a big deal there. And then of course you put the name. And now you see it's changed because we can now get that other, we can see everything, I guess. So now we have Eclipse on here. And we're not going to quite click it yet. So, however, it's still not in here. If we do Eclipse and search, oops, wrong button. If we come in here and type Eclipse, it's still not going to know about it. ECL, right? No Eclipse in here. We want it to be in there also, so we can actually tell it to use this desktop info that we just created and create it as a system thing. And what we type is DESK desktop, and then file, and then install. And then of course we need the name of the file, which is EC Eclipse Desktop, right? So if we do that, it'll blink for just a second, and now inside of this we should be able to find Eclipse. EC, there it is right there, Eclipse. And we can take that and we're going to drag it and put it maybe right underneath Firefox. Okay, so we're not going to quite run that yet because we don't have our files and stuff that we want to adjust. In fact, do I want this one? I'm just going to shrink it because it's ugly huge right now. So we're just going to make it so it's not so big. Then it won't bug me as much. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to install our other files. Now, like I said, we have a list of things we want to install, and we could probably do all this in one giant install line, but I'm going to kind of separate it out just so you might understand a little better how this stuff is working. So we're going to go ahead and do apt-get. See, I could have just did apt install. I'm not very efficient. So we want to install Apache 2, and it's just APACHE and the number 2. I already know that one. We could have done the apt cache search and found it, but we don't need to. We're also going to do PHP. Now, if we just do PHP like this instead of specifying a version, it's going to, it has the intelligence, I guess, to actually install the latest and greatest, right? And then we're going to also do MySQL-server. And finally, MySQL workbench. Okay, and once again with MySQL, it also will grab the latest and greatest one if it just says MySQL server. They kind of have a shortcut link in the thing that says, okay, if you ask for this, it's just going to give you the other one. If you want a specific one, it might actually be like PHP 5.0 or something like that, or MySQL 5.3, I think. So we're going to go ahead and run that. It's going to go ahead and look at all the dependencies that we need. It's going to say, oh, but you also might be interested in this. So this is always good to look at. And then these are the new things. Whoop, is that right? Yeah, new packages will be installed. These packages will be installed. That's almost the same stuff. Silly. So nothing's upgraded. 82 new things will be installed, and nothing needs to be removed. So we're going to go ahead and say yes on that and let it go. Why that goes is going to take a minute. Let's go ahead, and there was something else that I wanted to do, but I don't think we can do it till we actually have that. So we're going to have to wait a minute. It shouldn't be too long. See, now this is more like what it used to do. It's just orange. Huh. I don't know why it was yellow in the other one. All right, so this popping up, this is for our MySQL server, and as you can see, it's doing 5.7. So we're just going to use password and say OK. Oh, tab, OK. Click it, and then PASSWORD and OK. It looks like everything's already downloaded and it's all going. So these are our basic environments. However, they're unaware of each other. So PHP has no idea that MySQL is on here. Apache has no idea that PHP is on here. Apache, I don't think, really cares about MySQL, so we don't care about that. So what we need to do is there's a couple install files that we can do that kind of modify our systems and add the important information that they need in order to access the other component, because Apache is very, very dependent upon PHP, or PHP is, they're dependent upon each other. So the first one we're going to need is, and we're going to actually do an apt cache just to kind of show you another little feature. I don't remember if we did it, but if we do, let's see, apt cache C-A-C-H-E, we're going to do PHP search. I forgot search, S-E-A-R-C-H. And as you can see, there's just a ton of these, and I can go read every single one of these till I find what I want. But as you can see, I mean, it just goes on and on and on and on and on. It could take me a little while to read all this. So there's another tool that you can do. Let's hit the up arrow, get back down. Let's see. So what we can do now is we could type that same command at cache search PHP. Then we use the pipe, which is shift backspace, and we can use another command that will search within our results. So we want to, and it's called grep, G-R-E-P. So we want to grep, and we want to look for MySQL, MySQL, right? So now if we do this, we'll get a much shorter list. Let's actually do this real quick just so you can see. As you can see, it's a much shorter list, and we can actually see what we want. The one we want here is actually PHP 7 MySQL. So we can do this. We can highlight that or something. We could go apt-get instll, install, and then if I right click on here, or whoops, not right click, middle click, like that, it'll actually take what's in my highlighted area and put it down there. So using that same method, we could have also learned that we wanted, where's the one I want? This one. So we have the MySQL one, but we also want, oops, come here. Using that same method, we could like type Apache and then grep into PHP, and we'd end up finding something called, nope, LIB. I'm going to put a space there just so you can see a little better. APACHE2 hyphen mod hyphen PHP 7.0. So just like that. So these two are the things we want. So this one will make it so Apache knows about and can use PHP and PHP files. This one makes it so PHP has available to it access to MySQL. However, there is one other thing we need to do in order to use it. So we're going to go ahead and install those two bad boys and wait just a minute for them to finish. We are running a little longer than I wanted to, but we only have a little bit left to do in this episode that I wanted to accomplish. So I think we're going to just muscle on through. Oops, wrong screen. All right, so we're going to go ahead and enter that a bunch of times here. We can close you. Yeah. So now what we need to do is we need to finish making PHP, or we have to enable the ability for PHP to actually use MySQL. And maybe actually I could do it. Maybe what we'll do is this first. So first what we're going to do, because I just wanted to show you what I mean. So let's do this. That's going to add too much time. Let's not worry about it. We just want to make it so PHP can see MySQL. So we're going to go and we're going to do a vim. We're going to vim, and we're going to do /etc because that's where all the config files are in a file called PHP. So I'm just hitting tab. If you hit tab twice, it'll show you all your options. So we're in etc PHP 7.0. Then we want Apache 2, and then the file is actually called PHP ini. And I did type vim. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead, boom, just like that. Now, once again, here we are in the vim environment. So because we're in the non-insert mode, we can use some things. If we hit /, we can actually do a search. So we can say search for MySQL. And it puts us down here to PDO MySQL. That's not what we want. I think we hit N for next. Yes. We want, I typed something different last time. Alright, well maybe we'll just look for it manually. So what we want, there's a block of kind of modules. Here it is. So if we come in here, we have this one right here called MySQL IDLL. And this is, in this type of file, the semicolon means it's commented out. So if I move my mouse, just using my arrows, and I move my mouse over that little, in front of that colon, semicolon, and I hit the letter X, this is once again a non-insert mode command, and that will remove that. It'll remove whatever's in front of the cursor. So there we go. That basically enables PHP to talk to MySQL because it's launching that DLL. So we're going to hit escape. Well, actually, we didn't have to escape. We're going to hit colon. We're going to hit right quit, and we're done. The next thing we want to do before we launch our Eclipse is we want to change the name of the default file that it created. So once again, like I said, all your variable information is in var. So that's where all your databases are stored and stuff like that. Log files, things that are variables change, usually are in var. So if we say cd/var of var /www for World Wide Web HTML, and if we do a double list LL here, we can see there's an index HTML. So we're going to use a command. We're going to move this, and this is basically a move is a rename. So well, you can rename it. You can also move it wherever you want and leave it at what it's called. So we're going to move, and we're going to type index HTML, and we're going to go ahead and rename it to PHP. So this is where you're moving from, this is where you're moving to. In this case, it's not moving any directories or anything, it's just moving its name. So if we do that, we hit enter LL again, you can see now it's called index PHP. If we go into our browser here, and wait 20 minutes for it to launch. So if we go into our browser, and now we type LOCALHOST, you'll see it pulls up Apache Ubuntu default page, and it gives you some information. This is not what we want. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and minimize that. Actually, instead of minimize that, let's go ahead and use our multiple desktops. We're going to push it to the right. Now, a cool thing also, I said we could use the Control Alt and arrow keys. We can also, if we click on it, it'll automatically take you to the desktop that's in, which is pretty cool. All right, so what we want to do now is launch Eclipse. So we can either launch it here, we can launch it here. It's because we put that GKSU info in there, it's going to ask us for the root password or your password actually. So we do that, and now it's going to launch Eclipse. Now it's going to do that every time. The reason it's going to do that is because, as you can see here in the index PHP, read and write is for root, because root is the owner and root is also the group. Read is for the root group, and then the whole world or everyone else can only read it. So if we didn't do this as root, Eclipse, starting as a user, would not be able to actually write to the file. We're going to go ahead and leave this as is. This is the workspace for it. It's not a big deal. And this will launch Eclipse. Blah, 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 blah. Stutter there for a second. And there we go. There's Eclipse. So when Eclipse first comes up, because we downloaded the PHP, if you did regular Eclipse, you could always come here and do install new software and install the PHP stuff. We did the PHP version of Eclipse, which is Neon. Well, actually it's Oxygen. Neon is the version of Eclipse. So if we close this out, this is our main thing. You can see we're in the PHP perspective. We want to go ahead and open a file. We're going to open a file here. We want to go to other location, computer, then we want to go to a var, www, HTML, and here's our index PHP. We're going to go ahead and open it up. So this is all the HTML that was generated and created that nice info that we saw at the very beginning. We're going to Control A, and we're going to delete it because we don't need it. So if we now went to our other environment here and we hit refresh, this would now be a completely blank page because we just got rid of it. All right. So what we want to do is our very first PHP thing is to verify PHP is working properly. We're going to do a less than sign, a question mark, PHP. It automatically typed that in for us. We're going to get rid of that last part. We're going to hit enter once, and we're going to type PHP info and then double parentheses and semicolon, and then that's it. So this will give us all kinds of information about PHP. If we go back over here, hit refresh, you'll be able to see everything about it. It tells you about the version. This is not something you want external users to be able to see because it gives a little more information that you don't want shared. You can see it's got the Apache handler going with it. You can see if we scroll down further, when we get to the letter M, we want to see something about MySQL. And wait, did we pass it? Do we not have it? No. Control F. I might have missed something. MY. Oh, there's the MySQL PDO thingy. Oh, I know why we're missing it. We did the we installed Apache and stuff. What we forgot to do is refresh Apache. I'm so smart sometimes. All right, so what we want to do now, there's two ways of doing this, and there's the way probably most people do, and then my way, which I like a little better. So you could just simply type service service APACHE2 and restart. You have to spell it right though. START, just like that, and the screen will just change like that. I like to get a little more info than that, so basically doing the exact same thing. I do /etc init.d and then Apache and then Apache 2 and restart. So it's a bit more of a command. However, this one will actually show you status that's going on. In etc initd is where all the configuration files for everything, if we went like this and did maybe an LL on it, these are all the things that your computer does as far as services and stuff that are running. They're all little tiny scripts in here, and as you can see, like Apache is right here, and when you run that, it's running a script and it's checking what you're putting as the status. But I like this way a little better because I actually get more information. We could do the same thing. As you can see, MySQL's running. We can check the status of it. We could go here and say, instead we could do STATUS and get the status of Apache 2, or if we were wondering if MySQL is really running, MySQL STATUS, you can actually get the info there. If we did a reboot on MySQL, RESTART, it actually shows you what it's doing. So I like that way a little better. You can do it however you like. You can just do the service restart Apache 2 or MySQL or whatever the service is, or you can actually go to the directory and just tell it to do it. All right, so now go back to our Firefox real quick. Now if we refresh this page and we do that same search on MySQL, we'll actually find a MySQL section. See PDO on MySQL right there. If we go up higher, this is all MySQL too, I believe. Yep, MySQL right here. So MySQL there, MySQL there. So now we know that PHP is aware of MySQL and it can use its built-in functionality for accessing it. Okay, so one other thing, remember how in the last one we wanted to verify that we could access it from our system when we did a quick ping? we're going to do that same thing. We're actually going to type in that IP address, which was 172.19.131. Yes, there it is. And if we do that, we'll see we actually get, come on, you can do, oh, actually it's not 131. Oh, that was a different thing I was doing. Hold on, stop in the name. Oh, let's go check what one it was real quick. So go here real quick, do IFCONFIG. I had another one up that I was testing on. So this is just 130. That's why we messed it up. Okay, so do this real quick. Go here again and do 130. And there you go. We have our PHP. And this is actually on my local system. So as you can see, I can move it outside of the window of the VM. Whoa, whoops. That was the wrong button. Let's go ahead and do this guy. All right, so now that we've done all that, we can actually go back into our guy here, and we can comment this out in PHP. To comment something out, you simply just do 2 little forward slashes, and now it's commented out. We can verify that it is working by typing a quick print statement or an echo, ECHO. As you can see, it has context awareness. It knows what's going on. And then we could type, let's say, I be working. I could do hello world, but and then in PHP and lots of other languages, you always end a statement with a semicolon. So if we save that, we go to our guy here, we hit refresh, the PHP info will be gone, and I be working. Check that out. We come to this guy, bring it up in here again, hit refresh, I be working. So there you go. We now have a complete environment for developing. In the next episode, we'll probably be talking about some programming logic and stuff like that, just to get you familiar with what you can do and how to do it. Some things I might not tap on quite as much as HTML. If you're interested in that, I would go to like, I think it's W3 Schools. W3SCHOLS. I think that's it. We'll find out. It could be yeah, that's it. W3schools.com. You can actually learn. This is where everyone goes for all the standards and stuff. Learning the best way to do everything, and it has PHP, MySQL, ASP, all that fun stuff. So if you want to go ahead and catch up, learn some new stuff, go learn a bit about HTML and the doc types and how its formatting is, because I probably will dabble in it, but I won't go into great detail. All right, guys, we are at, okay, looks like it crashed for some reason. My recorder did, not the thing, but we're at the very end. I just need to do my closing. So like I always say, guys, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a thumbs up down below. Aside from that, comment, like, subscribe, follow me on Twitter, check out my Discord. The information and all links, all kinds of links are down in my video description. And that's it. Until next time, I'll be seeing you later. Bye.